Howdy. Why is it looking dark? Guess we got a dark one. Hola, mi amigos y amigas. Am I the only person that's pro-choice when it comes to COVID vaccinations and abortion? It sure as hell looks that way. I think I might have to form a new political party. Robin Cornell, CNN, 4 a.m. I just got done working out. Seems like a peaceful takeover. I haven't seen one shot fired. All I see is people in their pajamas waving. Listen, if Pakistan and Iran and China, if those countries aren't going crazy with the U.S. left, you know, those countries that neighbor Afghanistan, if they aren't crying and whining and going, help, get back, where should go, then I suppose we did the right thing. At the right time. What say you? Was the journalist Ali Latifi in Kabul. I can't even confirm that their weapons have bullets in them. I haven't even heard a bullet shot, more or less seen one. If any of their neighbors didn't like what happened and what is happening, they've got militaries that can step in and change it in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? The Iranian Royal Guard, Pakistan, don't they have nukes? So something doesn't add up. Insurgent group captured 17 of 34 capitals in just the past week. That's half. The only thing I can hold against them right now is burning gasoline all over the place. militants and insurgents. I'm gonna look it up and see exactly which people in Afghanistan voted for the Taliban, because that was one thing that changed my mind about them, is just seeing how the people there voted for them to have them govern them. It made me step back and go, wow, you know, they're the ones that these people want. You know what I mean? You know, I don't see them electing Americans. I don't see them losing every election. I mean, in 20 years, the U.S. could have made the country as flat as a pancake about 100 times over, and they didn't. So, gotta be a reason. And they're not total and complete idiots, so this was in the range of possibilities of things that could happen. Cyril Vanier. That's a name. This sounds like a good idea. You know, Qatar's a lot closer than the United States, and if Qatar's going to help take in people that are refugees, whoever they might be, interpreters, or sounds like a smart idea. It's the first munition I saw go off, and that was an old video. Yeah, these people risk everything, you know, and it's not like they can just go back to their regular life afterwards because they're helping Americans. They probably get paid very well, but when they're done, I think they gotta get out of there. said that, then they should follow through with that promise. Biden's not going to forget the military because his son was in the military, and he's been in politics for a very long time. And we're so lucky in America. Sometimes we take it for granted, I think, in the United States. Just all the freedoms we have and all the riches we have. Everything, from the paved roads to the benefits that we get, to the freedoms that we have and stuff. In some other countries, it's not that way at all. I learned that pretty young because I visited Mexico, and I lived close to the Mexican border, and I remember learning that in Mexico you're guilty until proven innocent, and so everybody I knew, my parents kind of warned me about that, because in the United States you're innocent until proven guilty. That's why my parents always went to Hawaii every summer when I was a kid, and after I was a kid, they kept going. Because they said that the laws in other countries are different, and the water is bad sometimes, and there's other problems, and they just wanted to stay in the U.S. I don't know if they've ever left the country, either of them. Canada to resettle 20,000 Afghans under Taliban threat. It's funny how Canada sometimes gets involved in stuff. They just slam somebody with a needle on TV. Yuck. The kid looks terrible in the mask. Propaganda. See, I think what they've done here is they've just been so over the top when it comes to these vaccinations. You know what I mean? The liberal mainstream media, and I don't know if you consider Fox News mainstream media. They're obviously not liberal. But be that as it may, even Fox has gotten into it a bit, where they're just, they've sort of made it so if you even want to question vaccines, or if you even want to have an honest, rational discussion about not just their efficacy, but their safety, and how they might have bad stuff in them, how they might cause health problems in 5 years from now that nobody knows about, how it might be a risk that you might not want to take. I think that those conversations are not taking place because, and why is anybody's guess, but it looks like it's because there's a full-on, full-court press on making everybody do something without thinking about it, and that's never good. I said not too long ago, it sounds to me like some conservatives, and maybe some liberals even, have a story, a song and a dance about their vaccination that's just totally bullshit. I don't know who told them to do that, if their church did, or their friends did, or whoever, but it sounds to me when my dad was telling me about his vaccination story, which I didn't ask about, and going on and on and on and on about it, it dawned on me that, wait a minute, you know, this sounds like bullshit. So he might have gotten vaccinated, he might not, who knows? There's no evidence that he got vaccinated. And it made me draw a conclusion, and that conclusion is that some people are lying. Some people just want other people to shut up and get off their back. Some people just want to fit in with everybody else and go with the flow. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of people just do that. Like, how you doing? Good. They're not good, but they just say good. Did you get your vaccination? Yeah. They didn't get their vaccination. They just don't want to get into the hows and whys of no. And that's where we're at. That's why I just said, I sent a message out in social media and said, I respect your choice, and you don't have to give anybody a reason for your choice. And you don't. And I don't either. You know what I mean? Arnold Schwarzenegger overstepped a little bit, in my opinion. You know, he's telling people that they have to get vaccinated and wear masks. Or, I don't know if he said those exact words, but watch his video. He said it the other day, and he was just real pushy and used the word, that his language that he used implied that he was talking about masks and saying how you gotta wear a mask, and there's no law that says that you have to, per se. But I think what he was referring to was like a social contract, you know, that some people subscribe to, that they do stuff and expect others to do stuff. But you know, I don't know if the youngers really care for that, since the old people have polluted on them for decades unashamedly, and they haven't, and they're getting handed a world that smells and looks like a toilet. I don't know if that social contract still exists anymore, Mr. Schwarzenegger.
Now, this all comes as the US sees rising numbers of cases and deaths, and the highest states are dangerously close to running out of beds in ICUs.
They're besmirching 5 southern conservative Republican states right now, and just showed another person stabbed with a needle. I looked it up today, and I wanted to see which states on worldometers.info/coronavirus you can get all kinds of statistics about COVID-19. And I usually look at the country data, but today I looked at the state data, and I compared the states to see who had the most deaths and who had the most cases. And New York and California have had the most COVID-19 deaths. And to my knowledge, both of those states have Democrat senators and Democrat governors. So now they can cry about Florida and Texas and Alabama and Mississippi and all these other red states they want. But those 2 states have the most deaths from this virus. And also I noticed that the deaths are going up countrywide in the US. It was 734, I think, yesterday. Which is, you know, it was about here's another injection. They just showed 3 injections in the first 20 minutes of this TV program. 21 minutes. Yeah. Just 36% of Mississippi is fully vaccinated. And now they got some English guy on here with hair dye in Los Angeles. Nick Watt. Oh, now they're invoking the children. Looks terrible in that mask. Ugly. Children represent tiny percentage of COVID-19 deaths.
We bring worrying numbers when it comes to children.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for
Bible says don't worry. Worrying is a sin. It's funny how some people just want you to worry and they think they'll stick in that word and sound like they're saying and doing the right thing. So a sin is defined as a transgression against God. So if you're worrying, you're offending the Creator according to the Bible. I hate worry. I don't use the word worry. I use concerned. That's a great way to get people to do what you want, is to invoke children. I've seen it for years. You want to scare people? Talk about children. You want to control people? Tell them that the children are going to be affected. Say that this is for the children's sake. You know? What I said, and I'll say it again, is that they should be innovating for the children's sake. You know, what we're doing is we're using the ancient method of masks, and it's literally ancient. And then we're using an old method of vaccines. Is that all we got? This is the United States. We can't develop anything whatsoever to kill this virus after it leaves somebody's mouth. All we can do is slam a needle or stick a mask on. That's creepy. It's real creepy. I've got an air filter right now that's filtering the air in this room. If I had 3 of them, you know, how would that affect the virus if somebody came in here with COVID-19 and started breathing? And why don't we have tests to see if people have already had it? Why don't we have tests to see if it's contagious when somebody does have it, or how contagious it is? Like antibody tests. And why are tests and vaccines using needles? You don't have to use a needle to do everything. There's other ways to do these things. Why don't we develop those? I don't think it's right for people to pierce other people's skin. I think circumcision is wrong. It should be illegal. I think that you can give vaccinations different ways too. I saw a video on a vaccine that was delivered by a banana. It says, I don't know why it says this, but it says children under 12 can't get shots. I would turn the volume on, but I know that they're not going to explain that why. And so I'm going to have to do some research on my own. I asked this today when I watched Out Front with Aaron Burnett yesterday. There's got to be a reason. Is it because their immune system is so strong that if they were to get a vaccine, they would just eliminate it like that? If so, then maybe we shouldn't worry about them catching this virus. And now they've been using this term long haul COVID. Nobody has defined it. but yesterday they started talking about it. It's really a shame that, you know, they're catering to the most disgusting people in society. And when I say most disgusting people in society, I'm referring, here's another injection, that's 4 in 27 minutes. I'm talking about the olders that have been polluting the place for decades, like there's no tomorrow. And I mean people that are obese and have a terrible lifestyle. So that's really what we're talking about. If we didn't have an obesity epidemic in the United States, and if we didn't have a pollution epidemic in this United States that was caused by the older people doing it forever and ever and ever, we wouldn't have this problem at all. You know, Al Gore on the Bill Maher show said pollution is a precondition for COVID-19. And I remember when it first hit in New York and all these people were suffering and going to the hospital. I was like, well, why aren't they trying to work on the pollution there? I visited New York in 2012 and I was thinking about moving there. I was there for 3 weeks. But the place was just so disgusting, I didn't want to be there. And so yeah, maybe there's a correlation, like Gore is saying. You breathe filthy air for long enough, it damages your lungs, and then you get this virus, and then it does a job on you, and it's hard to get over it, or harder. That makes sense. And whose fault is that? And why do we want to just put a Band-Aid on the problem? Why don't they want to retire these gas-burning vehicles and retire these coal-powered plants? You know? What I hate about the Republicans and the Democrats is that they can't get us off fossil fuels. Republicans just deny it's even a problem, and they've got money tied into them. And Democrats want to just crawl slowly to the solution. And it's in vogue right now to say the problem will be solved after they're dead, basically. Like, for instance, probably dead. Let's just say probably. Because these governors are saying, okay, by 2045, we'll be on clean energy, on the power grid. And so, you know, Governor Ige in Hawaii, not to single him out, but he said that, and he'll be in his mid-80s at the time, and he'll be probably out of office. And so is somebody else going to carry on the torch? We have no guarantees that things are going to be clean then. And just a clean renewable energy power grid isn't going to fix everything. Because that means we still have gas-burning vehicles. And for all I know, they could still have the coal plants and just sell the energy to other countries. Or use it for the military. Or, you know, there's ways that they could still pollute the place. Maybe the thought is that when it's a totally clean power grid, that people will prefer electric cars because then they could just plug in and charge up their car and use clean energy that way. But it's not going to just happen by osmosis. You know, at some point, I think there's going to have to be some sort of recycle push, like a cash for clunkers kind of deal, which I think is Biden's #1 thing that he's ever done. But he did it with Obama. You have to trade in the stinkmobiles for a vehicle that doesn't fuck up the place.
Welcome back to all of our viewers here in the United States, all around the world. I'm Robin Kerner, live in Atlanta. It's 30 minutes after 9. So we're turning now to our top story. The Taliban surge in Afghanistan. They now control at least half of the country's provincial capitals following a lightning-fast offensive that has left the world stuck. All the capitals were captured in just the past week, and they sent hundreds of thousands of Afghans fleeing their homes. Many have sought safety in Kabul. But as Nick Walsh now reports,
haven't seen these troops. I'm not sure if that's even true.
A failed Afghan state could have serious global consequences and unleash a new wave of terror in the world.
Why would they announce it? And would they announce it and be honest, or would they announce it and give a higher number or a lower number?
The UN also sounding the alarm, saying
See, it's starting to become a political football, and that's a load of shit.
over 10,000 displaced people have recently streamed into Kabul, believing
Fox News is already using it to throw stones at Joe Biden.
tent cities are popping up in parks. Many families with horror stories of how they got there. Taliban militants forcibly have reached me at gunpoint, one woman says. They killed my sons, forcibly married my daughters-in-law. We had to leave. But the militants have full momentum, and there may soon be no place left to run. Nick Clayton Walsh, CNN, London.
Honey Hakimi is a research associate at Chatham House, and he joins me now from Cambridge in the UK. Good to have you on the show, sir. Thanks very much for joining me. Kabul is increasingly surrounded. What are your thoughts right now?
Morning. My thoughts are actually mainly with all those people I've met over the years in Kabul that I speak to, and they're very concerned, the civilians. And I think it's a moment of absolute dire hopelessness for a lot of Afghans. And it didn't have to be this way, not because the Afghans are, in favor of some kind of permanent foreign occupation force, if we use the term, but because it's just in the way that their lives have been decided forward by bigger players, the United States, also the fact that the government and the President Ashraf Ghani failed to read the mood and either prepare for transfer of power or concede more to the Taliban or convince the United States to not have taken the steps that the United States did. So a lot of confusion, a lot of hopelessness, and a lot of despair as to who to blame. And that's the kind of message I'm getting from the people that I speak to.
Did you happen to record any of it?
Even in the face of these Taliban gains, is that Afghan security is not in the interest, in the national interest of the US, that it's no longer a counter-terrorism priority. Do you think that's a correct assessment? How do you think Afghans feel?
It's time for Afghans to fight for themselves, U.S.
I believe it's a
president.
contradictory
That's true.
statement
That's a good point.
Such short memory about
And if they can't, then they should call one of their neighbors in to help.
that we have is that in places like Afghanistan, people who are still suffering from the 1979 period, the Soviet invasion, that ripple effect. Remember, this conflict with the Afghans was over 40 years old. It didn't begin with 9/11. There, people are very much aware and they follow what they hear from the
Believe it or not, there is people in countries like Iran that don't want to see everybody get slaughtered.
full contradiction here, because that's not
That's why they're taking in about 1 million refugees.
administration of President Bush said. That's not what
And Pakistan is doing the same thing.
But for example, just as an example, they spent hundreds of millions of US dollar taxpayer money.
China probably would too, but I think the border is real remote.
Generally call it
I think they just share like a short, maybe 12 some odd mile border with China. That's not near Shanghai or any of the major cities or anything.
Afghanistan. So the fact that suddenly changed course and trying to change narrative in Washington by the Biden administration to say it actually wasn't really about state building, it wasn't really about the Afghans. That to the Afghans that seemed like a clear contradiction. But also I must say that for us
I've always wondered if this has to do with poppy, and opium, opiates, because there's an opiate epidemic in the United States, and an extraordinary number of people are dying from it. Sounds like a homicide issue or a suicide issue or something. I don't like opiates. I was prescribed one for my back, and I took it, and I didn't even finish the bottle. I hated it so much. It was called hydrocodone. I was prescribed 750 milligrams for the pinched nerve I have in my back, and I just sat there like a vegetable and looked at the wall, and I said, this isn't for me. But Afghanistan is the biggest poppy grower in the world.
It is the Taliban push. Have they just been waiting, and they have time, and they've had time for the last 20 years
You know, the U.S. is a democracy. It's a shame that we don't get to vote on more things. I understand that we elect people and they make the decisions, but it doesn't have to be that way. You know, we can elect people and we can also vote on things,
It equally points to, I think, a
other things,
discontinued
you know,
political
other
leadership
decisions.
in Afghanistan, as a result of which
You know, we've got the internet now. It's a shame that nobody wants to vote on the internet.
almost all the countries today in Afghanistan are
It seems like it would be such an easy thing to do and everybody could do it. They'd probably have amazing voter turnout.
very quick background.
You know,
In
if
the
you can go on the
in this current
government website for different things, healthcare or whatever, then you should be able to go on the government website and vote.
displaced, that's according to the UN, internally, anywhere
You know, and some government websites make you scan your ID too.
displaced would cause
You gotta show it up to your camera and it takes a picture of it, you know,
unfortunately,
and you stick your face there next to your ID. I've done that before.
but what has been definitely not understood
So it's,
in
you know,
media we only hear
I think the US does some real wonky things because the people in Congress are so fucking old.
PR exercise. You just have to go see the Twitter account of the US Embassy in Kabul, which Lloyd Leland
I mean, old.
is very, very sad.
Fucking old.
And the civilians I speak to are incredibly terrified. But you know, I really hope that if
I think there should probably be term limits in Congress.
the political process would lead to a
But you know who gets to vote on the term limits in Congress? Congress.
because Afghan cities have changed in the last 20 years. That's one major story of the last 20 years. The Afghan cities are very large, and there would be a humanitarian catastrophe beyond belief if there is a warfare street to street in Kabul and places like Kabul, which will have direct consequences for all of us as humanity.
Let's see what happens. We are hearing that perhaps Ashraf Ghani will speak, what that means, and when that'll happen. Of course,
Yeah, I'll look it up, but I think there's at least a half a dozen, if not more, people in Congress that have exceeded the average lifespan for people in the U.S. Might be more like a dozen. And it's not like the Supreme Court, you know, where as you get older, you get wiser and you're in a position where you rule on precedents. It's actually, I don't think it's real helpful to have embedded politicians, lifelong Congress people, because they don't necessarily get better at their job or do things, more things for the people. They just end up becoming rich and partisan and less in touch with the people.
More on this expert Sam Hi. Sam has reported extensively from Afghanistan over the years. Sam Hi, what do you make of those comments?
Well, they will strike a lot of people, particularly Afghans, but also NATO commanders over the last 20 years as somewhat ironic, coming from Pakistan, which undoubtedly has been the principal supporter of the Taliban overtly through its intelligence services.
Well, there's a Taliban in Pakistan,
The Pakistanis have always been
and you know, I don't know.
double game in Afghanistan.
Pakistan supporting the Taliban in Afghanistan might just be like Canada supporting the Democrats, or Mexico supporting the Republicans.
Sanctuary to the Taliban. The Taliban in Quetta Shura. Quetta is a Pakistani town just across the border from Istanbul. That was fell fairly early on to the Taliban as part of their global campaign to capture now 17 of the 34 provincial capitals. So, yes, Pakistan does face problems with refugees and the humanitarian crisis, but it's a lot of it, certainly in the view of many of the critics of Pakistani policy, who say, well, this is a result of your own interference inside Afghanistan. That said, that level of influence may be an absolutely critical part of trying to get
Kim Khan says Pakistan not taking sides.
fighting in or over the capital city, Kabul. Over the next few days, the Pakistanis are trying to call a peace conference. We've also heard that
1.4 million Afghan refugees in Pakistan.
And while he's getting this confirmation, of course, that Ashraf Ghani, the Afghan president, says he will address the nation at the top of the hour, so that's in about 15 minutes' time. Unclear what he will say, but of course we'll bring that news to our viewers as soon as we get it. Sam Kali, always good to get your analysis and perspective. Thanks so much for joining us. So new COVID infections are spiking in Australia's most populous state. After the break, we'll take a look at how officials in New South Wales are dealing with the surge.
And they're not stopping on this one. They are really talking about the Taliban today. I think it's pretty foreign to America to see this stuff, and I think that the news sort of plays on it too, plays off it. I think that they use a B-roll that makes people's blood boil sometimes. They want to invoke emotions. It's very obvious, you know. We don't have people on the streets with turbans and weapons, and so we see that, and Americans are like, oh my God, can't have that. We gotta stop that. Or Americans don't know where to place it, you know. They just go, that doesn't look right. I think years back, the solution would be to invade or send troops there or send advisors or, you know, deploy people. But I think in this day and age, that's less and less popular. It's just a shame that the interests weren't clearly defined, you know, because you can't win a war when you don't have an objective, you know. I think maybe part of what the country is going through right now is the veterans and people that fought over there, and you know people that got injured and killed, you know, are getting to consider this and weigh in on this like they should. Because ultimately it's, you know, you can't make everybody happy, but you could listen to everybody. And even though the U.S. is pulling everybody or most of the people out of Afghanistan, there's still troops in the region. The U.S. has like 1,500 military bases, or something like that, around the world. You know, there's troops everywhere, all over the stinking place. So, you know, I don't think the U.S. needs to occupy a country unless if they're begging us to be there, then we should visit with a plan to leave. And I don't hear anybody begging us to be there. I don't hear the Afghans screaming and yelling to get us back in there.
So Australia's most populous region enters a snap 7-day lockdown after reporting a record number, of COVID infections, new COVID infections. Authorities in New South Wales say they reported 466 new cases earlier today. Police and military will be deployed again in the Greater Sydney area on Monday to enforce tightened restrictions. Well, I'm joined now by Paula Hancock. Paula, hi. What more do you know about this? It's certainly worrying signs in Sydney about the number of cases that they're reporting.
Australia and New South Wales reports record new daily cases.
Sydney itself, this is the biggest city within New South Wales, has been under a lockdown for more than 7 weeks now, and yet the numbers are still climbing. Now, we heard from the state premier that if that lockdown hadn't been in place,
I said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't know if these vaccines are really working anymore.
But as you say, it has been a record number of cases.
And I think that they've just kind of given up on the narrative that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And I heard the other day that there was 1 million people got vaccinated in one day in the U.S. So I think if we can trust the numbers, over half the country has been vaccinated. Over like 180. The number I saw said 175 million people or something. And there are, they're saying that children can't get vaccinated. There's another injection. It's 5 injections in 49 minutes. They're showing an injection every 10 minutes. Oh, there's another one. 6 injections in 49 minutes. Yeah. God damn.
But that's a problem for Australia because the vast majority of Australians are still not fully vaccinated. In fact, the latest figures show something like 20%, about 5%.
This woman's in South Korea talking about Australia.
So coming up on CNN.
Vaccines aren't going to save you, man. That's such an American thing. Americans don't care about the environment. They don't care about their health. They don't love themselves. They don't love other people. They're shitty judges. And they want to pop a pill. That's their solution. It's to let everything get shot to hell and then pop a pill. And unfortunately, that doesn't always fix everything. Like rich people like to throw money at a problem. That's how they fix things. And the problems that the U.S. is facing right now, they can't be fixed by throwing money at them or popping a pill. That's just a Band-Aid. You just can't throw money at climate change. You can't throw money at the filth factor and make it go away overnight. You can't just pop a pill and expect to have good health. And that's really a shame, and that's bothersome that this hasn't launched a health push to make sure everybody is healthy as possible. I just said to Joe Biden yesterday, why don't you call everybody to a fast? I don't think Donald Trump did it because he knew it would hurt the economy. But if the whole country corporately fasted, they would have better health and better insight. But that's just one piece of the puzzle, People need health care. They need supplements that they can count on. If this, like the study is correct, in New York, this is only 21% of the time the supplement that says whatever it says on the bottle is actually in the bottle, then people aren't going to get healthy even if they do slam a needle. They're going to be thinking they're taking turmeric, and they're going to be taking filler, cornstarch, or garbage. I've been eating nothing but organic food for many, many years, and I've been saying that they should have 3 different menus at restaurants. And one is an organic menu, one is the old menu, and one is some kind of new menu, experimental menu. At least people should offer an organic alternative. And people should probably sell food by the ounce too. Because this, think about like a 5-foot woman and think of like a 6'3" man. You think they really need the same portions? No, they don't. Like my mom was 5'3" and she was obese, and I think she could have benefited from saying, okay, I want a 6 ounce this, a 8 ounce this, 2 ounce that, whatever. Instead of just saying, okay, I want a medium, a large, jumbo, whatever it is. In a capitalistic society, some things never get fixed. Some things just circle the toilet bowl. I think the United States has relied on people to use good judgment and be responsible for way too long. And the options have gotten so diverse and so destructive that the country's in a very bad spot now.
And a tropical depression Fred is bringing heavy rain to northern Cuba and triggering states of emergency in 23 counties in Florida. The National Hurricane Center issued a tropical storm warning for the Florida Keys, and flooding is also expected in the state. Well, we'll straight now to Tyler Morgan and Tyler Hyde.
Fred's coming to Florida. Shout out to all my friends in Florida. Take care of yourselves out there. Wow.
It's got sustained winds of 35 miles per hour, gusts up to 45. It's going to push to the north
Wow.
into the Gulf of Mexico, and this is the reason why we do have some areas of Cuba under a tropical storm warning. Eventually, there's a tropical storm warning for
Looks like it's right over Cuba, and it's going to go through Havana, and then go through the Gulf of Mexico, and wind up around the Panhandle where the Alabama border is. Or I mean, sorry, Louisiana border is. Almost pulled a Trump right there. Yeah, I mean, it could hit those places eventually, but it looks like it's going to make landfall on the Panhandle. And depending on how big it is, it might also make landfall in Louisiana.
I mentioned that we now have two tropical storms that take place, and tropical storm number 2 is Grace here. Grace.
Or it could veer off and go another way. That's just what